HTV Today, Houston Television's showcase of city government. Let's go!
Hey, we are back at HTV Today podcast, our weekly podcast from studios in City Hall. I am Mariana in place of Ted Irving, and we have a very special guest. Today he is here to talk to us from the Complete Communities Department. We want a very warm welcome with Khush Vachhrajani from a Brown University Fellow from the Mayor's Office of Complete Communities. Today we ask the tough questions that everybody wants to know. What exactly do you do for complete communities in the city of Houston? Kashi, welcome.
Thank you so much for having me here.
Tell me, where are you from, first of all?
So I was born and raised in the city called Ahmedabad in India. So I'm from India. I did my schooling there, did my undergraduate college there. I was working there for 5-6 years before coming to the States about 6 months back for my grad school at Brown. And yeah, so that's my story.
Wow. Okay, so what is your background, education? What is your passion?
Oh, that's a tough one.
A tough one.
So I did my undergraduation in civil engineering. I graduated in 2014. I did not know what I wanted to do, but I always knew what I didn't want to do. So I think that's what led me to engineering, and I think I enjoyed my 4 years, did a lot of volunteering, and got exposed to community development, got exposed to public policy. After finishing in 2014, I started working. I worked with tribal communities in India. I worked with state governments on different projects, different issues, and I started my grad school at Brown, and I study public affairs in Brown.
Good. It says here in your bio, and it's very interesting, that you were involved in first-generation learners by working on school leadership, teaching, training, enhancing parental participation in the school process. Can you elaborate on that?
Sure. After finishing my college, I started working with tribal communities in the state called Rajasthan. It's again on the west coast of India. And I was working with 5 public schools, and my primary job was to work with the principals of these primary and a couple of elementary schools to, one, sort of help them create action plans for these schools to improve the quality of learning. I was also sort of engaged with the community and the parents to understand their vulnerabilities and how can they get more involved with their kids, because not sort of getting exposed to schooling in their lives, they always were hesitant in how to support their kids. And third, I think very critically, my role was to look at public system of schooling holistically and create linkages with the community organizations, with local government institutions, and sort of create a model for a school to operate more sustainably.
Well, what a great opportunity. How successful did that become?
So I think on a personal note, it was a fantastic experience. I could see a lot of changes, some short-term changes in schools for sure. I could also sort of create a few mechanisms that could last a little longer. But honestly, I was there for a couple of years, and I kept in touch for a short while with schools in my communities, and I did see some initiatives failing, largely because of leadership issues, largely because of a lot of people moving in and out of schooling system, like largely teachers and the principal. So a few things did not go the way I would have wanted them to go, but I'm pretty happy with a few that stuck, and I think they're still going on really well.
So why would they leave?
So
Was it financial or?
So for teachers and principals in India, it is more. The public jobs in India have a transferable option. So a lot of these teachers and principals sort of moved away from one school and went to another, and someone else came in, filled in for them. The thing is, if someone is not around at the time of transition to manage these projects and to sort of do hand holding for the initial period, it will be super tough to sort of continue those things once a person who knows what was going on leaves.
Okay. I'm sure these kids were absolutely thrilled to have a leader like you. I mean, I'm sure you got attached to these kids, and they did the same thing with you.
Absolutely. I think I learned so much more from the kids, from the communities, and I think a lot of what I could do was because of the learnings that they sort of gave me about their culture, their history, what sort of brought them to school. Because growing up, I always had a question as to why am I going to school, despite having parents who are educated, who are professionals. And in here, these are kids who are the first generation learners, right? So, yeah.
Fantastic. Wow. What an experience, really. So, talk to me about what exactly do you do now here in Houston for the city of Houston in Complete Communities?
So, I've worked in one of the complete communities called Gulfton. It was one of the first complete communities. And my job is to understand the habitability issues in multifamily housing in Gulfton. So, if you know, now Gulfton is one of the most populous area or neighborhood, not just in Houston, but in Texas. It is, in terms of population density, about 175 times the national average. The housing stock available there, the multifamily housing, are pretty old. They were built during the oil boom and bust period, 70s and 80s. There are maintenance issues. The community that sort of lives in these multifamily housing are transient, both in terms of refugees and in terms of immigrant flows. So I'm here to understand their issues more, to understand the issues that the landlords face a little more, and also how can City of Houston and largely Complete Communities Office address these issues and sort of create an action plan for these challenges.
So, what are the issues in Gulfton?
So just to sort of simplify it for you, there are like threefold issues. One is more around the maintenance of housing. So, as I said, it's a transient community. Ownership interest is something which I see missing. Everyone knows that they are here for a short period of time, so they focus on schooling, they focus on getting a job, but they don't really focus on demanding good housing. Second, I think even for managers and owners, the incentive of investing in good quality housing is a little less. So they would do enough to make sure that the housing sort of ticks all the boxes. And third is, I think, there are quite a few service providers and organizations who work in Gulfton for community development who just don't talk to each other. And I think that internal communication is something which can change the game.
So, communication is obviously key. That's what we do.
Absolutely.
Okay. So, how long have you been employed with the City of Houston? How long have you been doing this?
Right. So I joined in January, on January 6th. So I've been here for a good 12 weeks now.
Oh, so you're a newbie. All right. Rookie. Well, we are very impressed with your resume and what you do in Complete Communities. I think it's a great department. We've already been talking to a few of your colleagues, and it's really fascinating. So let's talk a little bit about what you like best about this job you do.
Oh, so many things. But I think to start off with, I think it's a perfect balance for someone like me in terms of exposure to field, opportunity to know the community better, opportunity to engage with these partners, and at the same point in time, having enough time on the desk to sit back, analyze, read, and understand, diagnose these issues a little better. So I think it's a great balance overall for me.
So, what are your passions and hobbies when you're not doing your job?
So I think I've always been fond of stories. So I try and consume stories in one way or the other. I read, I watch films, TV shows, I think have been pretty exciting, and the kind of themes that they've been coming up is also super, super interesting. I love music.
You don't play cricket?
I do, but I think I missed that in the States. It's super, super tough.
I figured you might play cricket.
I do.
Okay. Well, that's interesting. So, what would you say are your strongest points? See, I'm telling you, these are the difficult questions now.
These are. And maybe you should ask this to my teammates. But I think one of the things that I love doing, and I think which is also my strong point, is working with teams. I think I gel up really well with people. I am someone who can both lead at times as well as follow when needed, when I'm learning. So I think that is one for sure. Second, I think I have, in my opinion, really, really good professional work ethic. And that sort of supports my passion, that sort of supports the quality of output that I want to bring. And yeah, that just sort of one also keeps me grounded with a lot of things that goes around, especially in City of Houston.
Fantastic. So what are your goals for 2020?
Professional goals?
It could be personal goals or professional goals.
So I plan to graduate in May. So I'm graduating in May. I think that's a big achievement for someone like me who never thought I would come back and study and get into grad school.
Yeah. Well, congratulations!
Thank you. Thank you so much. And I love traveling, so I plan to travel a little more. I plan to read, I think, a little more.
Okay.
I have been following some amazing podcasts. I continue to do that. I think podcasts have contributed a lot in my knowledge, my interests.
And now you're in one.
Absolutely. Something that I always dreamt of being in one. So.
Well, we're so happy to have you
Thank
here.
you so much.
So anything else you would like to add?
Thank you so much for having me here. And I think this is a great opportunity for the residents in Houston to know more about City of Houston departments, people who sort of work here, and I think it gives a face to an institution, which I think is fantastic. So thank you so much for having me here, and I wish great success to the podcast.
Well, wow, we really want to thank you, and you're always welcome to come down here. We also have a show called City Pulse, and we would like to extend an invitation for you to come down and talk about complete communities in that aspect as well. I am thrilled to have the chance to have interviewed you because your resume and your background are shocking to me. I'm reading it and I'm like, wow, you have been everywhere, you have done everything, and you're a leader. I mean, these kids, especially that you talked about, have been looking up to you for so long, and it's just you giving back to the community.
Sure.
Absolutely. There are not too many people that do that, and you're one of them. So you're kind of like a leader that gives back and doesn't expect anything in return.
Right, and I'm very, very glad, and I think I've been extremely lucky in my life to have sort of gotten these opportunities. And I use the word lucky purposefully because, again, these opportunities don't come easy, and I have had a great, great learning time with these.
Sure. Well, Khush, we want to thank you for being here with us on these HTV Today podcast. Terry, let's give a big hand to Terry, who's on the helm, running the board for audio, getting it right for us. So let's give a big round of applause to Terry.
All right, great.
I'll give me a pat on the back that
Mariana.
I'm here in place of Ted.
Yes.
And Khush, thank you very much again. And so, folks, remember, HTV podcast every Tuesday at 9 a.m. in City Hall in the studios of HTV. Goodbye.
It's HTV Today, Houston Television's showcase of city government. Let's go.